hip-hop world has been on fire the past few weeks as one of the all-time great rap battles has played out. And that's the backdrop to today's video that could be a bit controversial because we ask, is Aubrey Graham a lying snake or a Machiavellian mastermind? The psychology of deception holds the key to unmasking the superstar who's more commonly known nowadays as Drake, and particularly in how he's handled his beef with Kendrick Lamar. Now, the hip-hop world was set ablaze recently when Drake and Kendrick Lamar, two titans of the genre, reignited a long simmering feud with a series of blistering diss tracks and calculated info leaks. The lyrical jabs and strategic moves on both sides have fans defending and jumping all over the opponents, but in particular there's been a lot of questions around the authenticity of Drake's persona. Now, if you're across this beef and the history of it, not only with Kendrick, but other rappers having shots at Drake, then you know it's been a hectic couple of weeks. But it's also been simmering for a long time before now. For those who are just coming up to speed though, let's give you a crash course in just this recent flurry of shots fired, because the longer term recap would take way too long. All right, let's start. October 31, 2023. First Person Shooter, a song released by Drake and J. Cole. Wasn't necessarily an outright diss track because it didn't mention Kendrick or was not very specific, but it did talk about the fact that people say there's a big three, but in Cole's words, he's not even thinking about the third person.
The Spider-Man meme is me looking at Drake.
And Drake also doubled down and said, in his eyes, other smaller rappers have Kendrick covered.
Who you bitches really rooting for? Like a kid that had bad from January to November, nigga, it's just you and Cole.
Then on March 22, 2024, so there's quite some time there, 3 months have passed, Like That was released by Future Metro Boomin, and Kendrick Lamar had a feature verse. And in that verse, he dismissed the notion that he's in a big three with Drake and J. Cole.
Motherfuck the big three, nigga, it's just big me, nigga, bum.
And on April 13, so almost another month later, Drake comes out with a song called Push-Ups, where after several weeks, Drake fires back by mysteriously leaking this song, doubling down on the fact that he's not in the same league, and he's also teasing Kendrick for collabing with pop stars. Now, this is all kind of normal beef. And then it starts to get a little weird. On April 19, so not even a week later, Drake releases another song called Tailor Made Freestyle, and he doesn't even wait for a response in this beef. In it, he uses AI to rap in the voices of Tupac and Snoop Dogg, which was not only an insult to the West Coast scene at the time, he also says Kendrick was now under the control of Taylor Swift, the world's biggest pop star and female icon, and that's why he's taken so long to respond. Then, a little later on April 30, same year, Euphoria comes out by Kendrick Lamar, where he starts coming back a little sharper and more personal. He refers to rumors or even repeating accepted facts about Drake's rumored plastic surgery, his rap abilities, his use of ghostwriters, and his parenting, hinting at more detail on the last one, but not going there, as he suggests that Drake should keep it clean.
But don't tell no lie about me, and I won't tell truths about you.
Then on May 3, Kendrick doubles down with a song called 616 in LA. And he threatens Drake again, suggesting he keeps it above the belt, saying he has people on the inside of Drake's circle giving him dirt and he shouldn't trust them, trying to make him a little scared, a little paranoid. Well, Drake doesn't listen to either of those warnings, and on May 3, later that same day, he comes out with a song called Family Matters, throwing very personal references towards Kendrick, suggesting that his child was actually fathered by his manager, Dave Free, and also honing in on his relationship with his fiancée, Whitney Alford, alleging interracial infidelity and abuse. Pretty personal stuff. Now, Kendrick does not waste a minute. The very next day, or it might have even been overnight, he releases a song called Meet the Grahams, where he does basically the same in reverse, unleashing the threat and response from if Drake went low. He hits back with a very personal call out to Drake's son, insulting Drake's manhood, his parents, insulting Drake's character, and revealing allegations of an additional illegitimate daughter, and potentially more. On May 4, again, same day, Kendrick Lamar comes out with another track, and this one is huge. Not Like Us was the brutal right hook following the jab that was Meet the Grahams. And in this one, he makes explosive accusations against Drake, with lyrics like,
certified lover boy, certified pedophiles. What?
Alongside,
say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to cell block 1.
And finishing with the classic,
trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor.
And then the last song so far in the beef is Drake's response. A day later, on May 5, he comes out with a song called The Heart Part 6, a play on a series that Kendrick has done. And where in this, he tries to respond to both songs by dismissing the most serious allegations with lines that, if we're being kind, failed the sniff test, like, I'm too famous to be a PDF file. I'm not sure that really holds water given the history of other famous people who've carried that on for decades. He also goes on to say he deliberately leaked a lie about his daughter to try and put that to bed, and then he says he's tired of the argument now, hinting that he's just going to walk away from the fight. Whew, okay, so are we all caught up? Here we go. Let's dive into the question now. Is Drake lying through his teeth, using smoke and mirrors to deflect from his own inauthenticity or cover up his faults and failings as a man? Or is he a Machiavellian mastermind, masquerading as a rap star, employing 48 laws of power style tactics to outmaneuver his rivals and maintain his GOAT status? Let's turn to the psychology of lying versus authenticity to find out. We're going to ask what separates genuine authenticity from Machiavellian manipulation in the high-stakes world of celebrities in particular. That'll help us find out if Drake is a truth teller or a truth bender, and what psychological tells might actually give away his true motives, not only in this beef with Kendrick, but in other things that he's put out previously. And by analysing Drake's words and actions through the lens of deception research, we can gain fascinating insights into the mind games that shape the narrative at the top of the pop culture pyramid. But we also have to grapple with the ethical implications of using dishonesty as a PR strategy. To understand Drake's moves, we first need to understand the psychology of lying. Dr. Leanne Ten Brink, who's a professor at the University of Denver and a leading expert on deception, has found that liars often give themselves away by saying more than they need to. In a groundbreaking study published in the journal Psychological Science, Ten Brink and her colleagues analysed real-life, high-stakes lies and found that deceivers tend to provide unprompted details and extra information compared to truth tellers. This verbal clutter is believed to be an attempt to seem more credible and pad out a fabricated story. And we can see this principle in action with Drake's name-dropping of Millie Bobby Brown in his latest diss track, The Heart Part 6. And also not to mention previous songs, which was an earlier, more veiled shot at Kendrick. The young actress has never been mentioned by Kendrick at any point during this feud before, so it makes the reference seem a little out of place, unnecessary, and, to be quite honest, a bit weird. But it does add weight to the broader and more heinous facts that Kendrick is alleging, given she's one of the younger women, actually a teenager at the time, who's been on the record publicly talking about her relationship with the older Toronto rapper.
Only fucking with Whitney's, not Millie Bobby Brown's.
By bringing up Brown in this instance, Drake may have been trying to add credibility to his other claims and deflect from Kendrick's accusations. But in doing so, he might have actually exposed his own deception through unnecessary details. A classic tell identified by Ten Brinky's research. But if we carry into other research, we can see that not all lies are created equal, and not all liars are easily exposed. In fact, some deceivers are master manipulators, a line that Kendrick's used, but it's particularly using strategic dishonesty to gain an advantage in competitive situations. Think about poker bluffs, a classic situation where lying is actually beneficial. In the real world, this Machiavellian personality type, which is named after a famous Italian philosopher, is characterized by cynicism, lack of empathy, and a willingness to exploit others for personal gain. Psychologists Daniel Jones and Delroy Paulhus, pioneers in the study of Machiavellianism, define it as a manipulative interpersonal style marked by self-interest, deception, and ruthless ambition. Sound familiar here? Kinda does, right? Now, these people are skilled liars. They're able to deceive others while maintaining an air of sincerity. Some fans have argued that Drake's claim of strategically leaking the information of having another daughter was a Machiavellian power play, straight out of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. The move meant to undermine Kendrick's current critiques of Drake and make him appear hypocritical or untrustworthy. But if Drake did deliberately leak that, it kind of backfired. The tactic was immediately called out online as being inauthentic, potentially because of Drake's history with not being fully upfront. We'll talk about that later. But also because it didn't make sense that if he did all this, he didn't show evidence that he did it. He just said it. So it was kind of falling flat. And not to mention the fact that strategically, in the rest of the battle, he's been blown out of the water. Not only has Kendrick baited him and then gotten on top, he's also subtly been way more creative and strategic with his lyrics, like the previously mentioned A minor, the hey, 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 which is a reference to Bill Cosby.
Hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life.
And the Step This Way, which is reference to R. Kelly, all of whom have similar allegations or convicted crimes. And his song titles. 616 in LA as an example, this tweet perfectly sums up all the levels, the many layers of strategy that Kendrick is putting in his work. It kind of puts the not lies, just strategy argument to bed. But lies and manipulation, no matter how strategic, come with psychological costs. And this is work by Dr. Francesca Gino, a behavioral scientist at the Harvard Business School, who found that dishonesty can erode trust, damage relationships, and ultimately undermine an individual's level of respect and reputation. In a series of experiments published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, Gino and her colleagues found that people who engage in deception, even for, arguably good reasons, are seen as less ethical and trustworthy than those who tell the truth. So over time, a pattern of dishonesty can lead to a spiral of distrust and a permanently tarnished image. And for Drake, who already had a bit of a reputation for inauthenticity and manipulation, this could be kryptonite, undermining the very foundation of his popularity. His image as a relatable, emotionally honest artist who's fully out there has been key to his crossover appeal and his ability to connect with fans both in the rap game and beyond. But as evidenced by this conversation between Joe Rogan and Derek Poston,
you have an illegitimate daughter, you're a pedophile, you groom women, and then Drake's comeback was, I don't have an 11-year-old daughter, and Brian said, hey bro, address the other shit. Nobody gives a fuck about what? He called you a pedophile, man.
Yeah, a dad is not a bad thing to be, buddy.
That's okay.
Maybe it's starting to backfire, especially in the court of public opinion. Drake's apparent use of lies and manipulation in his feud with Kendrick and in previous beefs, whether it's to deflect from his own alleged dirty laundry or to gain a strategic advantage, over time it erodes the very qualities that have made him so popular in the first place. As the research suggests, a reputation for dishonesty is a difficult stain to scrub away. And so if we zoom back out again here, Drake's actions in this beef with Kendrick Lamar reveal a fascinating psychological dynamic at play. On one hand, his use of unnecessary details like mentioning Millie Bobby Brown seems to fit the profile of deceptive verbal clutter identified by Dr. Ten Brinke's research. It suggests an attempt to pad out a fabricated narrative and distract from Kendrick's other accusations. On the other hand, his claim of a strategic leak of fake evidence to Kendrick about another illegitimate child could be seen as a power move using selective dishonesty to undermine a rival and control the narrative. It's the kind of cynical ends justify the means approach described in the research on Machiavellian personality types, and it's absolutely not uncommon in high-stakes worlds, whether it's in sport, finance, business, or the rap game. But not only was that strategy questionable, as evidenced by the Joe Rogan joke and the fact that he didn't show proof, Dr. Gino's research also reminds us that lies and manipulation are a risky gambit in the long run. They might provide short-term advantages, but they ultimately tarnish reputations and undermine the very foundation of someone who's supposed to be a highly popular person. And that seems to be exactly what's happened here. For example, a Ringer article where paragraphs particularly focus on the fact that the industry over time has learned that Drake is a liar, especially referencing previous battles with other rappers like Meek Mill and Pusha T who didn't have the level of popularity or arguably skill that Kendrick was able to bring to the fight. And in another instance, Joe Budden actually deliberately calls out Drake flip-flopping from, hey, let's fight, to I've had enough within 2 songs.
Don't sound like a nigga that's trying to fight a losing battle. He went from nah, nah, nah to I'm going on vacation to I'm not replying no more. That was the fastest change of tone. Wait, this nigga said, you gonna make me have to wake the demon up. You know how many fucking sleeping pills I take in my life? What type of sleeping pills the demon taking?
Something that seems incredibly fake and a way to pretend that he won and walked away, when in actual fact, most people are judging that he's lost this battle. And it's not just those big names either, like Joe Rogan, Joe Budden. Other rappers like Cameron and Mace are saying that Drake lost because he saw he was losing and so he stopped bluffing, or went with one big bluff of I won, I'm walking away.
Can't end it when you just want to end it. You know, yo, man, it's all, I'm tired of doing this, that, and the third. And I just think that you shouldn't have ended it like that. You just got to keep going. That's just my opinion right now. I'm not saying Drake ain't my bro or nothing, but I don't like the way he ended it, if that's the end for him, me personally. So I'm going to go with Kendrick right now.
Yeah, I'm going with Kendrick as well.
For Drake, a reputation for inauthenticity and manipulation could be a mortal blow, unraveling the relatability and emotional honesty that made him a global superstar. His apparent use of deception in this feud with Kendrick, whether it's to deflect from bad shit or just gain an edge, well, it risks confirming the very critiques that have been leveled against him. So is he lying like a knockoff Gucci bag, or is he a mastermind of the rap game, outwitting opponents on his way to being confirmed as the GOAT? One thing's for sure, lies and manipulation are definitely part of Aubrey's game, but that might end up being his Achilles heel. The psychology of dishonesty reveals that even strategic fibs can backfire in spectacular ways, like they may have here. So while Drake may think he's pulling the strings, he could just be weaving his own web of deceit. Will the Six Gods' Machiavellian moves make him the undisputed GOAT? Or is public opinion going to flip a little bit and everyone's going to say Drake's a snake? Now, only time will tell, but as the saying goes, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. And that's enough of the moralizing for now. Now, if you want more searing insights at the intersection of psychology and pop culture, following your favorite personality, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Stay tuned. We're coming up with something real hot next.